What's up, boys? Welcome to the week one Commissioner Brandon recap and week two predictions. Sorry about not getting those predictions out to you guys last week, or not doing a video. I guess I did do my predictions, but yeah, just a big week. So hopefully we'll get the ship righted here and everything moving forward appropriately. Um, just a quick recap over the commissioner's picks last week. So last week I picked John, Eve, Sergey, and Kyle. Went 2-2 right out of the gate, although with kind of a weird intro week of football. I'll take that as a win. Not a whole lot of intrigue, I don't think, last week as far as teams that we thought were going to be close. I guess we did have some close matchups. We did have some top tier matchups, but nothing horribly surprising, at least to me, coming out of that week, although I didn't pick them all. So that's a little misleading. But I think for the most part, some of these fell the way we thought they would. Just right off the bat, I mean, the matchup of the week, I think the one everyone had their eye on was Commissioner Tim versus Eve. And it didn't disappoint. This matchup went back and forth all throughout the week. I think Josh Allen really set the tone, obviously, for Commissioner Tim right out of the gate. I think that's hard to kind of mentally prepare. When Josh Allen comes out with 31 points and Matt Stafford really kind of shit the bed with that 7.8. So right off the bat, I think Tim kind of set the tone and really didn't look back. Mahomes, had a good week as well, actually outscoring Allen for top points of the week. But I think across the board, Tim's starters really dominated this one. Tim's got this team full of stacked young guns, and I think a lot of questions were, are these guys going to be able to come out guns blazing like they did last year? They're going to take a little bit more time. I'd say for the most part, they came out and it actually exceeded expectations, specifically, Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor. Those guys are looking like they will forever be mainstays and high point getters for Tim's team. DeAndre Swift also looked like a stud. AJ Brown fitting right in, going to be their whole offense. It wasn't without blemishes, though. I know Tim went over a lot of these things, so I won't spend too much time on the recaps. But Tim's team, I think there are a few concerns that came out of it. I don't think, typically when a team scores 186 points, you would think, yep, they're happy moving on to the next week. But knowing Tim, there's a few areas that he's a little uncomfortable with. I know the Javonte Williams split. Tim forecast that to go heavy in Javonte's favor by the end of the year. I'm a little less optimistic on that. I do think that split will stay as close to 50-50 as possible. I think they really want to spell Javonte, keep them both healthy. And like Eve said earlier in the week, Melvin Gordon's no joke, and he's showing that he still has it. So I don't see Javonte running away with this one, barring an injury. So it'll be interesting to see if 14.3 points is still great, but it'll be interesting to see if Tim is satisfied with that. And then we have CeeDee Lamb, Kyle Pitts, and Travis Etienne are probably the big three concern spots. Kyle Pitts, I'm not worried about. I think that offense has a lot to kind of move and shake and figure out. He's a stud, whether or not it's this year, whether or not it's right away. He's going to develop into a generational player. Tight ends historically take around 3 years to really figure it out. He's already shown flashes of having it figured out, so no concerns there. But CeeDee Lamb, I mean, that offense is looking like trash. It's looking like they really need that big outside wide receiver to kind of spell CD. And especially now with Dak going down, it'll be very interesting to see if CD is able to overcome that. He did have some good chemistry with Cooper Rush at the end of last year, but obviously still not Dak Prescott. And then finally, Etienne. We'll see. I think he looked pretty dang good at times, and then at other times he definitely was showing that rust. James Robinson also came out of the gate pretty strong, looking like he shook off that injury pretty well. So that timeshare will be something to keep an eye on. Looking over at Cup to Canada, I don't think this is anything to really be that concerned about. 170.6 points will win you most weeks. I'm sure Eve's not sweating it too much. He had quite a few guys on his team that really underperformed, others that performed right in line with where you want to see or even exceeding what you expect from them. this team is very, very good. I don't think there's any questions about playoffs or anything like that. I don't think Eve is, really looking or with concern at any of these things. But Cordell Patterson no longer on his team. I know that was a tough one, but that was a big points off the bench. Jamal Williams getting those touchdowns in Detroit, really siphoning off some of the DeAndre Swift point share there. But overall, I mean, Terry McLaurin's still on the bench. This is a good team. I think this team is well on its way to the playoffs. I really liked what I saw from Mahomes. No Tyreek Hill. I know he's getting a lot of shade, but didn't look like it slowed him down whatsoever. The concern for me really would be that Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara duo. I know it was mentioned throughout the week. They did at times look slow. Derrick Henry coming off a major injury. That's kind of to be expected. He's still got 21 carries, 82 yards. I think that'll naturally sort itself out. Alvin Kamara also, though, looked a step slow. And with him, the carries aren't his biggest trait. It's really those receptions. And he didn't look like he was able to create space and get any of that yards after catch. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. But overall, I mean, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, I think those two guys alone, Travis Kelce, they'll win you some weeks. So good overall week there. It's tough to lose coming out of the gate, but that's kind of just how it is when you play those solid teams. Next matchup, I'll kind of go over Kyle versus Travis. This was an expected result. As far as Kyle, I think this is probably this is a good case scenario coming out of week one. Obviously, the Dak Prescott injury really hurts. But this is a team that I think, I don't think that alone doesn't affect any sort of playoff outcomes. My concern is, though, as we've mentioned in the preseason, this team is very top heavy. And if we start to see these guys with lots of injury history start to crumble, this is one of those teams I think we'll be talking at the end of the year, kind of a what if sort of scenario. So that will be interesting to watch. Losing Dak at this point, whether or not Kyle trades for anyone else, I mean, he's got Tannehill and Matt Ryan on his bench. Those are pretty good stopgap quarterbacks, so no concerns there. Everything else was, pretty positive. Saquon came out hot, and better than I think he's ever looked. So that alone can carry a team. Diggs looked really good. Eckler actually looked a little slow. I expect him to shake that off and have a good year. And then McCaffrey, obviously, not the best first week for him, but it does look like Carolina just needs to sort their shit out, and hopefully that'll be good to go. So at this point, Kyle's still a favorite in my book, still should walk easily to playoffs. However, if we start to see those injuries start to bust through a little bit, look out on this one. And then, like Travis said, team – I don't remember exactly how you phrased it, but team performed exactly how you expected or how you envisioned. I think with rebuilding teams, it's really about finding those pieces. It's about figuring out which pieces are going to be long-term for you. Really hoping that some of those pieces that aren't in those long-term plans really show out, so some deals can get done. Jameis Winston had a good first game. That could be a piece. Miles Sanders out of the gate. Some of the younger guys maybe didn't perform as well as you'd hope in their first week, but again, patience is key with rookies. So you gotta just be patient with them and just watch them develop over the year. Jerry Jeudy showed out. I think that'll just continue to develop. He showed that he's got speed, and I think he's going to be a really effective, more consistent Tyler Lockett with Russell Wilson. So that'll be fun for him. But yeah, I mean, interesting. Travis had Joe Burrow on the bench. I don't know if that was forecasting or what, but what was it? 4 interceptions, a fumble lost. Like, that's a rough day for Burrow. So yeah, anyways, Aaron Rodgers also with a shit day, but a lot of pieces here. I know Travis is just in the asset accrual, trying to see what he's got. And so you just continue to do that and don't really worry about the outcome of your week. So all in all, successful week for both of those gentlemen. Next matchup I'll look at. This was probably the only one that really was in contention on Monday night. Although, I wasn't. I'm not that high on Rashad Penny that I thought 20 points was in the bag. So I never saw a real upset here. Again, kind of what I said with Travis's team. It's not about winning so much. Honestly, winning is probably a detriment to my team and my strategy at this point. But it's really about evaluating those players and hoping that some of those guys' value go up so we can trade them and get more assets. It was one of those things though, because I do own Sergey's first round pick. So for a while there, I was, if I'm gonna win a game, I want it to be against a team who I'm gonna see the reward for. Um, but I think at this point, it's better that I don't win and just allow you gentlemen to knock Sergey out of the playoffs. Um, Interesting matchup. I mean, Sergey's team on paper is night and day better. I think he had some people that didn't come through that he was kind of expecting. Looking at Darnell Mooney, DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson. Even I mean, these guys all underperformed what was expected. Ezekiel Elliott did not do well. I think that's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. You would think they would lean into the run a little bit more, but if they fall behind early, it's going to be more of a passing script, and it seems like they like to check down to Tony Pollard more. So I do think Tony Pollard is probably the biggest beneficiary of the Dak injury. But yeah, I mean, Sergey Studs, they showed out. Joe Mixon had a good game. A.J. Dillon really looks like he's going to be the top guy in that backfield. Kirk Cousins, that chemistry with Justin Jefferson, I think is going to be there all year. I bet Sergey's got to be kicking himself for trading that stack away, even though it was, he got a lot for it. But to have that Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson stack right now would look very nice. And then, like everyone else said, Jalen Hurts looks fantasy legit. I think the key with him is if Philly has to keep winning games. I don't think Philly's going to keep trotting him out there just because he's getting a lot of rushing yards and putting up good fantasy points. If they start to lose on what is a very good team, a playoff caliber team, I think Hurts gets pulled. I'm not saying that'll happen. I just think key for Hurts having a QB1 or overall number one sort of season is continuing to win. So we'll see what happens there. Just a quick look at my team. I had some guys that performed well. Bateman only had two catches, but getting that big touchdown was good to see. I think the chemistry needs to continue to develop. I liked what I saw from Romeo. I think he's probably going to step up. We'll see what happens when Lazard comes back, but I think Romeo's forming that chemistry there. And then Jahan Dotson looks legit. He's quick. He's fluid. Great hands. He knows how to move his body. I think he's been underappreciated coming into the draft cycle, but there were points last year in college where he was considered the number one wide receiver in the nation. So it's not really a surprise to me. I think playing at Penn State, he was kind of hidden, but he made some big plays there. So I expect big things. The ceiling is capped, just given Terry McLaurin, but I do think that offense, whether or not it's with Carson Wentz, but that offense can support two wide receiver ones eventually. So we'll see. I think he could be kind of that yak target monster. So we'll keep fingers crossed there. Other than that, I mean, pretty even keeled day. Isaiah getting that touchdown. It's garbage time, but it's still good to see him get those reps. DJ Chark came out good. He really needs to step it up so that when Jameson comes back, he can keep his target share. Valdez Scantling just needs that chemistry. Garrett Wilson looked good. So, yeah, some of the young guys look good. I won't go through it all. But overall, this is a very mediocre team. But I did break 100. So whoever's betting the over on my 100-point streak, feeling pretty good right now. I think that'll just kind of be the goal and for this season for me. All right, last matchup from last week. Brady's third dynasty against Full Jerry. John, I love the name. Great change there. Wasn't the best. Wasn't a great week one for John at all. Some big concerns, I think. The Trey Lance concern. I think it's easy to write that off as a weather game. But I think, I don't like that excuse because both teams have to play in weather. And the other fact is that Chicago also has a young quarterback. And he seemed to step up in kind of the crunch time and was able to deal with it a little bit better. So I'm not sure that I like that as just a throwaway excuse. I was not impressed with some of the things I was seeing with Trey. I was surprised actually, but the guy's only got like 20 something starts between college and the NFL. So it's going to take time, but San Francisco is not exactly a patient franchise. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, obviously with the draft capital and everything, they're going to hold on to him, but um, they kept Jimmy G around for a reason. They want to win this year, and I think with some of their defensive guys kind of getting up there in age, this is their window. So this is probably one of the top 5 storylines of the season. How long is Trey Lance's leash? We'll just have to keep an eye on that. But like we mentioned with Jalen Hurts before, I think the key is winning. And if he's out there and 49ers are winning, he's going to put up fantasy points for John. Najee, kind of a disappointment this week. I know he had the injury, so we'll have to keep an eye on that bouncing back. Cam Akers, probably one of those top storylines. I don't know what's going on there. I thought he was ready to come back. I don't know if this is a behind the scenes thing or if he's truly still injured. Who knows? But I don't know if John's probably not going to be able to trust him to start until he shows that he's back and able to break out. And then right in line with that, Allen Robinson, another one. To me, Allen Robinson, I think he looked all right. I think he was getting open. It's just a matter of chemistry. Matthew Stafford is one of those guys. He's a guy that just trusts his guys, and I think Allen Robinson just needs to earn that. But other than that, Gabe Davis showed out. If he can do that every week for John, I think John's thrilled. Amon-Ra, again, that you're thrilled if you get that from them every week, even though I think their upside's even higher. So some points of positive from John, but also some areas that are probably pretty concerning. We'll see what Johnny does. I don't think, before we came into this season in the offseason, we were talking about, John's plan moving forward. And I'm not sure that this game actually skewed it one way or the other, because I think a lot of points were left on the table. So definitely a disappointment. John's not giving any inklings of tearing it down, though. So I think he's in kind of wait and see mode, and next week's matchup will be pivotal. As far as Brady's third dynasty, no surprises here. I think it was an underrepresentation of this team's ability. I think there are some guys on here that I'd be thrilled with their point outcomes, but I know Ryan's probably not. Brady, we're really going to need to figure out what is going on there. I think it's off the field concerns, and the guy has seemed bulletproof all throughout his career, just locked and loaded, and seems like he's got some family issues. Don't want to TMZ it too much, but that's going to impact his play. Dalvin Cook, kind of a low game for him. It seems like Minnesota's just ready to chuck it. So Dalvin did have 20 carries, though, so you'd expect a little more output there. Aaron Jones, definitely like Tim said, the 1C. It does seem like they're ready to roll with A.J. Dillon. And Aaron Jones can easily be released from his contract after this season. So I think they're going to give Dillon quite a bit of rope to see what he's got. And then the big piece of Ryan's team are definitely those wide receivers. Jamar Chase looked like Jamar Chase. Tyreek Hill, I think the Tua factor is going to weigh on him a little. I think they really need to figure out how to work together. Obviously, Tua is nowhere near close to an arm as Mahomes, so those deep shots aren't going to be there as much. So they'll need to figure that out. Keenan Allen out this week, kind of a week from him. We'll have to see how that affects Ryan moving forward, but plenty of depth on this team as we've talked about ad nauseum. Edwards-Helaire looking good. Gibson, he's probably going to want to take advantage of that while he can. So Ryan's in pretty good shape, I would say, overall. All right, let's move into week 2. My recap went a little longer than I thought it would, so I'm going to keep it somewhat brief here. So we have some good matchups. Again, we have some matchups that are probably just easy weeks for certain managers. But I think we have some matchups that are really going to shape the overall outcome of this season. So let's take a look. We'll start off with one of the cakewalks. So Bills Mafia is going up against Brady's third dynasty. I'm going to pick Ryan just right off the bat. I don't think there's any question here. This should be a blowout. I I think the biggest thing to look at with this is really how does some of these guys that had those concerns last week, how do they take a step back to where we expect them? Russ had a pretty good fantasy game, but definitely not a good game. Brady, kind of the same thing. I guess Brady had a shit game pretty much all around. But um, how do they respond to kind of down weeks? Looking at Dalvin Cook, looking at Aaron Jones. I think for long-term success, Ryan needs these guys to really step up. Right now this matchup's predicted at 147 to 104. I think both teams would probably feel pretty successful if that's the finishing point total. So I'm going with Ryan this week. I'm really curious to see moving forward how some of those older guys that have been consistent all their careers, if they're able to pick that up, or if we're really starting to see some of that age catch up to them. Okay, let's go to the other one that probably isn't going to be very close. Trust the process, first 4 putt. Right off the bat, I'm going to go with Tim. I don't I don't see it. I don't really see a path here. Although I'm hopeful Rogers steps it back up. I'm hopeful he, is able to build that value back up for Travis, but I don't think that's going to be enough. The Josh Allen thing is real. I think we could see some historic numbers this year from him. And then, he's just stacked. CeeDee Lamb. Okay, that's probably the storyline. Some of these other guys that, Tim's probably a little concerned about: CeeDee Lamb, Kyle Pitts, Etienne. Whether or not he continues to start Etienne, yeah, I would think so. So, can those guys again respond to down weeks? Show that it's just a fluke. That week 1 is a liar. If they can, Tim's probably looking at another 200 plus points game for Travis. I think this is likely another. It's going to be another blowout, but I think just looking at his lineup as it is, I think he's probably going to get close to 100, probably in that 90, 95 range there. Burrow needs to figure it out, although he should be on the field a ton playing against Dallas. So yeah, we're going to go with Tim in this matchup. All right, some of the tougher ones. And you know what? Just for week 2, these are awesome matchups, and I think trendsetters for the whole season. We've got 2 games where we have a 1-0 team coming off a relatively big win versus an 0-1 team, also a playoff contender. So this is, falling 0-2, although it's only week 2, it's a tough hole to climb out of this early in the season, and I know it starts to set the panic meters off. Going up 2-0 at this point in the season, you're feeling real good about your chances. So let's start off with Eve. Hang on. Yeah, we'll start off with Eve and Kyle. I've gone back and forth on this one a bunch. I do think it's going to be a great matchup. I think that's pretty obvious. I think the Dak thing is going to hurt a little bit. But just looking at the rundown here, I think Eve has got the quarterback strength. We got a whole bunch of old guys then coming in at running back. So that's the thing here, right? We've got all these older guys, these steady kind of old dudes that get you those points every week. So I pretty much put most of this matchup as pretty even. If we take a look at the flex, though, I think this is where it separates a little bit. I don't know if Eve is serious about the Gerald Everett thing. I like the balls. Go for it if that's what you're feeling. Michael Thomas, I think, is back. So, I'm not as weird about that one. I think he can outscore Mike Evans, no problem. And Debo should step it up as well. But Saquon this year, having Saquon in your flex is pretty killer. He looks good. And then James Conner, obviously, always, the workhorse getting everything. So, all that said, I'm going Moncton Meerkats to get the win this week. This is one where I'm hoping the commissioner curse strikes hard. I would like Eve to figure it out and turn your shit around, buddy, because I don't have your pick. So, these next 2 that I'm going with, commissioner curse is heavy on both of them. But yeah, Moncton Meerkats getting the win. All right, and then lastly, we're gonna go full Jerry versus Mr. Ambassador. I mean, right off the bat, I'll just say it again. I'm picking Mr. Ambassador, Sergey, only because I want the commissioner curse to strike again. And it hasn't hit Sergey yet. I was hoping that would work last week, and it didn't work. So this is the week. In all reality, like I said earlier, the Trey Lance thing scares me. Seattle's defense looked better than expected. They were kind of flying around the ball. They're fired up coming off a win. They beat Russ, and now they're going up against their bitter rivals. I think we could see a similar game from Trey Lance. So in that case, I like the Jalen Hurts and Kirk Cousins side of things. That'll probably screw me. But we also have Najee coming off what seems like a minor injury, but that's factoring in as well. Um, Looking at Gabe Davis, can he sustain it? Hopefully. But there's a lot of what ifs. John really needs Allen Robinson to ball out. Really needs him to have one of those like ceiling games, I think, to really have a shot in this one. And then looking at Sergey needs Zeke to step up. Sergey needs James Robinson to continue to look as good as he did last week, and he needs the target shares there. Deontay Johnson needs to step it up. AJ Dillon needs to continue to grow and continue to run away with it. If Sergey gets kind of that consistency, if Sergey again scores in that kind of like 120, 125 range, I think he probably wins this. I think that's the point total. Whoever gets there wins it. Now, saying that, you'll either someone will win with 89 points or someone will bust out 200. But I like Sergey in this matchup, so don't let me down, John. Okay, so just to recap, I've got Ryan, Tim, Kyle, and Sergey taking the wins this week. I've got Brandon and Travis just enjoying their teams and hoping for young guys. And then I've got some panic meters going to go off in week 2. And when that happens, you know where to come. I've got your wholesale cheap players to help fill out your bench depth. So, best of luck to all your guys' teams. Enjoy Thursday night's game. I think we've had some beautiful Thursday night games so far. This should be another good one. I'm rolling with KC on this one, although Chargers look really good too. But anytime you bet on the Chargers, you lose. So KC's going to take it. So everyone enjoy the games this weekend. Go Bills. One more week closer to the Super Bowl. All right. Bye, guys.